firstly, what I would say one of my superpowers is really trying to have like a prediction of where everything is going. And put your hand up if you're going to be having a fitness business the next 3 years and you still want to be doing this for a long period of time. Okay, so this is kind of how you need to think, is like long term, down the road, where is everything going? Now, what would you say are the 3 biggest things in terms of going on right now that people need to master and learn? Any guesses? Okay, yeah, bingo, we got 1. So these are 3 things where I'm putting a lot of time and effort into really mastering. So AI is number 1. Number 2. So I'd say we'll put branding. So brand, I put specifically long form, and I'll explain why. Number 3.
Sales.
Kind of. I'll give it to you. So, yeah, kind of. Paid ads. If you can learn to master these 3 things, you will absolutely clean up and dominate over the next 3 years. And it's kind of like that kind of order anyway, to be fair, because you can, AI is kind of, I kind of frame it as like the great equalizer, because you can use this, and we can talk about this today, and I'm going to talk about in depth on the call on Tuesday, about how you can use this to get a hell of a lot of stuff done, but make sure that things you're doing is less of a Gatling gun approach, it's more of a sniper rifle. Because you can use AI and use the data from your own business to make everything hyper-specific in terms of what you do. Second thing in terms of brand and long-form content, there is a huge compound effect of branding and what you do every day you don't realize. People you see, people who you have random conversations with, people who like come across your content and then buy a few years later. Now, why is long-form content in particular important is because of, if you look at what AI is creating is a lot of inauthenticity and everything's kind of the same. Long-form content allows you to be very, very authentic. But the other thing it also has is a huge amount, this pen is terrible, of leverage, right? You can make a YouTube video and it will continue to get views in 3 years' time if you make that video today. If you make a reel or a TikTok, in 3 years' time that video isn't going to continue to pay you. The other thing I'd actually say with this as well is podcasts. I think I was listening to a statistic on the way here in the car. There is, I think, 4 million podcasts like active, but like that are registered. I think it's 1 to every 1,000 people on the planet. So that's way less than in terms of actually any other platform out there, which is kind of like a bit of a unique opportunity in terms of long form content. Thirdly is paid ads. Now, why paid ads? Because you mentioned as soon as you came to Dubai, you came across, like, when you learn how to use this kind of funnel, we spoke about like the big event recently, the spiderweb marketing thing. You want to try and pull people into your world, and when they're in your world, all they see is you. So if you specifically help a certain niche of person solve a specific problem, you want to be the person in their face all the time. So like your name becomes synonymous with solving problems for menopausal women in the US or whatever your niche, if that kind of makes sense. So what I want to start with is, if we go around the room, everyone introduce who you are, specifically who you help, maybe where your business revenue is at, and then what's the big thing that you want to get out of today, or like your main one big question you want us to go through. I'm going to pick on Itaza first because you guys know, everyone probably knows him. So Itaza runs FitPro launch systems for us, like the kind of beginner program. So I'm going to pick on you first.
So Itaza, with Charlie.
Stand up, it's easy.
I'm Itaza, help Charlie, and I'm also the owner of this business. We are pretty much in the spot now where the coach is for us as traffic marketing. And our biggest spot?
Yeah, biggest thing you want to learn today.
Biggest bottleneck is, I think one of my biggest things is getting myself further and further in my business, but obviously in everything. So I'm pretty much now doing content marketing, but how things are hiring results, not anything. So lead flow, and you can say, yeah, A-star players.
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, do you want to go first?
Sweet. I'm Ben, so I work online. I actually work at a locker as well. Charlie, that's the same. Yeah, so I've got like a couple of clients online, a few in person, but yeah, I mainly do sort of functional training, CrossFit, that type of stuff. So I help people with getting better at that, and also like body transformation as well. But,
What's the main thing you want to learn, or you think bottleneck in your business?
probably just scaling.
Okay. Specifically what though, like booking calls or traffic or?
Yeah, so probably funnel, just getting a better funnel.
Okay.
That's a big thing that I.
Okay. I'm gonna just put like kind of traffic then. Cool. Ross.
Hey guys, a little bit different I suppose to you lot is I own a healthcare company, so I do physiotherapy. I've got 3 clinics in South Wales. A mobile company here in Dubai where I go around treating people, Charlie being one of them, Charlie being another one.
He's sick, by the way.
What I'm looking to do is actually take it online, so provide an online physiotherapy service across the world. I don't see no one really doing it that they could be doing it, linking again to coaches, linking to standard clients. We have over 14,000 clients in history across 2 countries, which is really cool. I think my biggest thing is I have lots of ideas, lots of things I can do. It's understanding what's first. Like what is first, and paid ads we're already doing in the UK. It didn't really work for me here. And then it's I've got the clients, I've got the database. It's how do you utilize the database? I think is the
Okay. So I'll put like offer creation probably for you.
yeah.
Cool. Max.
I'm Max, 21, from South East London. Doing 7 figures in like May, making around 6k. Managed to scale up 12k first month, and I say my biggest bottleneck is just charging higher. Most of the clients I attract around my age, 21 to let's say 35, charging like $2 grand for like it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say that's the biggest bottleneck right now.
Okay. It's kind of similar to Ross, like pricing offer kind of thing, right? Cool.
So my name is also Max, 22.
Is he a year older? Is there any other Maxes in here?
So I'm totally new to online coaching, totally fresh. So this is
What's your previous background though? 'Cause that's interesting, right?
for me. Previous background for me is I'm an engineer, so I'm an engineer out here at the minute. But I've always been into fitness, always been into the gym. So I guess the approach for me is more come from my personal story as opposed to being on the floor PT. So I think for me probably the biggest bottleneck is going to be, like I imagine a lot of us starting out with probably imposter syndrome. Once I just starting out, it's going to feel strange for me to give an offer to a client or expect or ask for money for something that I've not necessarily been in that space for before. So I'd say for me it's going to be getting past that and feeling more confident in the offer that I'm producing essentially.
Okay. Should we say like kind of like mindset, momentum kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Abdul?
Abdul, I've been with Charlie about a year and a half now. Coach both really, men and women, not mainly over 40, so women, also men with coaching now in the gas industry. Target on a separate platform, it's more for the men that we get, and the women then Instagram, Snap, TikTok, and whatnot. Biggest bottleneck for me, I think it's just niching down on my offer rather than when I'm selling. Focus on more what we give rather than what the offer is itself. So stop being specific on my offer.
Yeah, it's actually come up quite a lot to be fair, which is unusual, which is good. Okay. I'd say like the offer and kind of price is, like for everyone, is kind of like one of the biggest levers you can manipulate in your business that makes the most difference. So,
That was one of the things I wanted to speak about.
Okay.
So Adrian, I've been with Charlie for nearly 2 years at this stage. There's a few things I want to touch on. So first of all, I noticed my organic reach is down. So it's like once you kind of go for paid ads, I just feel that tanks a bit. So on your end, we're obviously going to speak about like say paid ads, so like Boost Posts versus Meta Business Suite, and also audiences to target. So like, do you go interest specific? Do you just do kind of open target and go for a broader reach?
cool.
That'll be one. When it comes to conversations,
Oh, caught that one. Technical difficulty. Yeah. Reflex.
A few things in, so just on setters, what should a KPI for an 8-player setter look like over an 8-hour shift?
Okay. That's a good one. Okay.
Just going on Abdul going for calls. So I was thinking I want to increase the lifetime value for a client, and is it better to have a 6 and a 12-month term, or just have a 12-month term but do like a silver or a VIP or something like that? So you're essentially getting obviously your clients to stay longer, and that's going to increase your LTV as well.
Okay. Cool. We'll go with that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Cool. Next.
Hi, I'm Joanne, powerlifter, personal trainer, Barry's instructor. I've just started with the Fit for a Launch system, so I'm at ground zero as well. So just revenue is zero,
Okay.
clients is zero, so really just getting started. Bottleneck would be getting leads, I guess.
Okay. I'll just put momentum, low hanging fruit.
Hello guys, my name is Vladimir, I'm gym manager and I work with my brother Dmitry. We did decide to start moving in online business because for us it's like freedom, you know, and still you're helping people, and it's nice to hear from people feedback like guys, you help, you change our life a lot, so we just start and we going to push till there.
Where are you guys from?
So
Ukraine.
Okay.
I'm from Ukraine, so I'll carry on for my brother. I've been living here 8 years.
Yeah.
So most of my life here and back home I was doing personal training.
Yeah.
So I opened a gym here a few years ago, so that's my whole life basically there. And this is the time where I want to move online because my online presence is really bad. Like my personal Instagram page and everything is bad. So I basically just started with Charles, and as my brother said, we just basically gonna work on my account close and hopefully move to the online step, so it's gonna give more freedom and so everything is new. We just started, we work with Dan Simmons, so we just started to post content daily with something and hopefully to have a proper system.
And you have a gym at the moment, where's that?
The gym name is Level Up, so it's in Production City.
Okay.
Like the big complex, we have CrossFit, bodybuilding, paddle, martial art, gymnastics.
Okay.
Okay. So looking forward for everything to come.
Cool. All right, so we can make this as interactive as possible. We'll ask as many questions as you want. We'll go a while from there. We'll start top to bottom. So, or anything that's congruent. So, Taz, you're anyone with hiring and ads. We'll come back to ads. So if you talk about hiring specifically, I'd say the biggest mistake most people make with hiring, and I've done this a million times, is like hire the first person who has a heartbeat and a pulse and can use an iPhone. It's like you're in, and it's kind of causes more problems for you because you waste a lot of time trying to train someone, and then you end up being terrible. You get frustrated. You then think you can't actually build a team, and then you kind of back to square one again. And that's when people. There's kind of like a narrative some people will push, like, oh, you want to be a one-man band business, blah, blah, blah. Like, people will say that to you because they're trying to sell you something, or they're trying to push a narrative that they believe because they haven't got the skill set to do that. And I think probably generally as people grow their businesses, probably the most difficult skill set to learn is hiring and finding people. But you know what we said earlier about personal brand? Hiring gets a lot easier the more well-known you get because people will start to come into you and like come into your pipeline or just naturally kind of want to work for you. The best places I find personally geographically, and this is going to stereotype, but it kind of is what it is, in terms of finding people, is from Eastern Europe or South Africa. If you're looking for specifically DM setters, for example, which I presume is probably some of it, what other roles would it?
So we've got 2 coaches now, and one was going to tap into the female market.
Yeah.
So we're going to hire a female coach. But the thing is, the coaches we've got now, one of them is questionnaire, one's a bit of but kind of like wanting to get the right person in place.
Yeah.
We want to get ideally like a transformation a week at this
Yeah.
rate. That's the goal for us. So one is like the right coaches, which we pretty much do for private gyms. So like someone that's got a decent skill set, but they haven't got big flow. But that's kind of one of them. So we look to hire a female coach, and then we kind of the other bits is like the problems we need to solve is a little bit of content sensitive edits. So like, I usually use Joe Nealon, but when I get back to the UK, I'll be having to use someone else. And then also like getting the setters to perform, because like right now we've got 2 part-time, which are 5 hours. I'm almost thinking if I just get 1 full-time, that just takes it all on board. That's the biggest thing, so I'm almost unsure to get more part-times or just get 1 or 2 big full-time guys.
So as your business naturally grows, your ability to hire people at the start is going to be kind of like minimal, and it will kind of increase over time. So you have probably got like loads of bit part people, and eventually you want to turn bit part people into full-time people, so they're not distracted doing other stuff. In terms of, like as I said, DM setters, anyone that's very, in my opinion, you have to have like quite a lot of aggression and determination and be like quite relentless. can say this because British. I don't think British people are very good to hire for that because we're quite entitled, complacent, and like they earn enough to like kind of not get in trouble, but they're not really going to like kind of do any more than that. So I would personally look for like call setters, and this is where you actually have to look at like psychology when you hire people, and this is a really warped way to kind of look at it, but it kind of really dawned on me. I looked at like the best people we had from DM setting and dialing and all that type of stuff. We do like 2,000 dials a day, and you essentially want to look for people who are in like emotional pain in their lives. Now it sounds bad, but the reason you want that is because they have pain which makes them very driven to get out of the situation they're in, or like where in the world they live in, right? So whereas if you're hiring someone who went to private school and lives in the home counties of the UK and their mum's taking them on holiday to Egypt, I'm like, probably not like going to be that driven. So that's kind of like a big thing. It could be that. Could be someone who, our best call setter, like skill-wise, is 17, 18 years old from Romania. So like, kind of give some context. We hired someone maybe 3-4 weeks ago he's Serbian, who's very, very good. I have a contact, I can share it with everyone afterwards, who is placing people for us into our own business from Eastern Europe specifically for these types of roles.
And
so
it's commission based, so they want.
Yeah, we pay them kind of like maybe a small salary and then a commission. So like you kind of have to adjust what you pay people to try and get, depending on your business, right? So if I give an example, we have a guy who's come in to do selling for us, and I decided to actually pay him a bit more than normal for up till he earns X amount of income, because I think he's really good and we can train him, but he's not earning enough yet to kind of make it work for him. So okay, cool, I'll give you a bit extra to try and like pay you to try to keep you here, because I know the most valuable thing you can have in your business is really good people. And if you find someone you think can be good, is trying to like groom them in a good way to then be really good at what they do. If you look at from a finding coaches perspective, I'm going to flip that the other way around. I think British people are very good to hire for coaches. Why? Because if you look at British culture, we like stability, we like to have kind of jobs, we want like steady. So which is why you see a lot of American coaches will hire British, like bigger coaches will hire other British coaches, whereas I wouldn't necessarily go and try and hire an American person to coach for me, because they tend to be a lot more entrepreneurial and eventually want to fuck off and kind of do their own thing. Whereas if your goal is to run a business, you ideally want someone who comes in, who's going to work with you for like 5 to 10 years. You don't want them to be there for 6 to 12 months, and you kind of got a problem, right?
You know the trainings, like the setters, for example?
Yeah.
So I was trying to like, because one of the things we had like in the last 4 or 6 weeks was they come in, we thought they're good, they come in, they get fired a week, and it's like, I'm almost trying to find a way where you can qualify harder and suit training without spending too much time.
Okay.
So like, I was thinking of doing like a Facebook group mini course where they watch the video and do homework, but there'd be better ways to do that.
Okay, so the best way human beings learn, if you look at like psychology again, 1 is mirroring, 2 is doing things. So like you can send them to a video course on Facebook, but they're not going to take it. Like in my opinion, I don't think people learn for that type of skill set of job. They learn from kind of practice. So what we personally do is we'll have like weaker accounts or weaker things we can put someone in and just see what they basically do. Give them 24 or 48 hours. You know, okay, have they done the volume? What's their kind of messaging like? Have they sent end of day reports on time? Like really, really basic stuff. The other thing you can also do is when you have them on an interview, you could log them into like Go High Level, for example, put them in a chat and be like, okay, like what are you going to say now? Just like watch them and just go through it and just see what they do. Or like even if you haven't hired them, like pull a conversation up and be like, what would you say here? And almost just spend 15 minutes going through, and you can see very quickly, like even with no training, how intelligent someone is and how they'll think, because the biggest cost to your business is someone bad at lead generation or sales, because the leads they'll burn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
So I'd kind of like rather throw them into the fire and see how they do, like live, and be like, okay, he kind of figured that one out, or he didn't, and you can kind of see how people react. Because a lot of people can talk a good game on an interview and they know what to say, right?
So it's like giving me a task and to
Yeah.
respond again.
Is there anything else specifically on the hiring side?
To be honest, it's kind of like, I think you've already said it, it's pretty much like qualified in a sense.
I would say, unless there's like your business is on fire and there's something urgent you need, I'd hire slowly and just make sure the person's right, and try and filter through, and then get Loom videos to come through to try and to interview people, if that makes sense. So that can save you a lot of time having to do loads and loads of one-to-one Zoom calls. Because like you can waste hours and hours doing that. Cool. So Ben, oh sorry, shoot, Max.
Question on the sets. I have 3 sets right
Yeah.
now. They all live in the UK. They're working like 4 9 to 5 jobs. Really, I'm trying to get like 200 calls booked in for this month. But it's a struggle. Like I send new videos every day. I try to motivate them.
Yeah.
They're all on commission as well. I'm just thinking what I can do because like they're from the UK. Maybe you get sets from somewhere else. Do you think that's a good idea?
So the problem is if you've got 3 people where you could just have one, you have 3 times as much management, right? Like you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, rather than just one person. So I'd always try and have one person full time, and your business is at that level where it can easily kind of do that. So that would be my personal advice. And second thing is, someone talked about KPIs for setters, is are they reporting to you every day what they're doing? Because the biggest thing I see when, like if it happens in our business and our call volume drops, they're like the leading indicator, which is kind of like the smoke before the fire, is they don't actually do the numbers they're supposed to hit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so did you send out 200 messages a day? They do the labels on Instagram.
Yeah. MetaBiz Suite.
Snapchat is really good. I have like 90k followers and
Okay.
stuff, so a lot of clients
Yeah.
sign up from there. But if I was paying, let's say a set full time, what would be the price of it?
How much are you paying them at the moment?
Just commission.
So that's kind of part of the problem, probably.
10% commission.
Oh, 10% is not bad though for a setter. I would say that's actually pretty good. Like, so your problem is for someone full time, you're probably going to need to pay them a little bit more than that. So even maybe you gave them a base of 500 up to a certain point, and then like when you earn over X amount, you don't get the base kind of thing.
And I would be someone from like Philippines or something.
I wouldn't. Again, my opinion on this is we originally had like 12 to 14 people from the Philippines, Pakistan doing like editing, setting, all type of stuff. And now, in my opinion, they do not have a strong enough skill set to be able to have a proper conversation because they don't understand the culture. And also the other thing is the time difference. So I don't think it's the best thing, in my opinion.
How do you source those people? What do you use?
So the best place in terms of hiring one is going to be Upwork. I think is very, very good. Number 2 would be Facebook and school groups. I can kind of send you some depending on what roles you want. Thirdly is trying to find people who essentially kind of like place those people in your business. And fourth, which comes back to kind of the personal brand thing we talked about earlier on, is actually just posting on social media being like, oh, I'm looking for someone to come into my business to do X, Y, Z. Obviously, if you are selling fitness programs online, I probably wouldn't put up, oh, I'm looking for someone to come and phone close me, or like DM setting. Like, you kind of like word it more tactfully than that because it's not really great brand affinity for that. So I'd probably say something like looking for a digital online customer service rep who's good at conversations, got a background in X, Y, Z, and just see what comes through. Yeah, kind of. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to say I'm looking for people to like sell all of your stories because it's not going to come across well. That's like kind of like brand suicide.
In the last week, I'd say I got a few people saying, "What? Is this a robot?" Like DM. So.
Well, this is also why having better setters now is more important because I'm going to say normies, like normal people are now who aren't in like online space understanding AI and automations and automated messaging. So they think a lot of things are going to be like that. So if it's a very vanilla conversation, they're going to think it's AI. If that makes sense.
What would you say so are KPIs for a fair setup?
Depends how many hours they're doing. Depends on the profile, but in my opinion, if you can get away with it, it obviously depends on the Instagram account. I think you can do 150 outbounds a day per setter is good. And I would say follow-ups 200 to 300. And the way I kind of break it down is like, if you were on your iPhone and you're working 2 4-hour shifts a day, how many messages could you send per hour? How many could you send a minute? I say I could send at least 1 a minute, so 60, right? So that's what, 60, 120, that's 4, yeah, you could easily do that. So I think that's where people are like, oh, my setter does, they work full time, they're doing 50 messages a day. I was like, well, have you worked out how many messages they send per hour or per minute? And it's like 1 every 15 minutes. Like, they're probably not doing a lot. But it kind of depends a little bit on the account.
What would you say calls up and if you send 400,
400 new.
No, a few 150 new and like 250 follow.
I would say you should be looking, those times you should be looking to do 2 to 3 a day. I think it's realistic. But again, it kind of varies against, if you already have an established business, or you're kind of looking against like the variant of like, where are we right now versus like, where can I potentially go with this? If that makes sense. You kind of have a foundation to compare against. Because essentially, if you were doing 50 and you were booking 3 a day, well, okay, cool. If we did 150 new conversations a day, and you've actually got the traffic into the account, well, you wouldn't book 3 calls a day, you'd book 9 calls a day, essentially, in theory. Does that make sense?
That's the question. So you know that would be trying the KPI. So like we now analyze our response to the first questions of 90%, but then to call link is that focus on right now? So
Is that call link? Is that from the first conversation to the?
pretty much, yeah. So it's kind of like we're booking a call every 150 messages usually. We're doing about 400, but generally speaking, it's like what then would you look at to fix when it comes to KPIs?
So for me, I'd probably look at like the meat, like the body of the conversation, like what's kind of happening there. So one of the best things you can do, so like the closer framework sales scripts are made, you kind of want the setters to follow the same kind of layout, right? Where it's like label the problem, observe past pain. So like, oh, okay, cool, Tarzan. So it's like you've been struggling with, like what's the main thing you've been struggling with? Oh, I've been trying to lose weight for X, Y, Z. Okay, cool. Essentially then, like what do you think is the bottleneck with you losing weight you can get in shape? You get them to try and like label themselves with the problem, and then you ask them like, what have you done before to try and solve this, if that makes sense.
Never thought about using
It's like, so there's a training coming out next week on how to build VSLs using AI, like video sales letters. Is that use the exact same framework? Because it's how like humans buy, like emotionally, because you're gonna, if someone like outwardly almost like labels themselves with a problem and then they think about what they've done before, it hasn't worked, they're kind of triggered into that like, shit, I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it, I've tried all these things. And that's what you want, if that makes sense.
Do you know like with the closing framework, does that also apply because we're doing putting all lead magnets to webinars?
Yeah.
Like,
I would do the same thing with webinars.
same thing, yeah.
Because what you always want people to do is label themselves in the head with where they're at. So like, I can try and do that psychologically, like kind of manipulate people with that in terms of like the language you use and the questions you ask. You want people to try and ask questions themselves, and if they're in a buying conversation on a sales call or on DM, that they're responding back with what their problem is, what they're stuck with, what the issue is, because then it's gonna, and then like observe the past pain is essentially like what have they done before to try and kind of solve that problem, because then that's when they're like, I have this big problem, like they're saying it, not you, and then I've tried this but I don't know how to fix it essentially. So they're kind of at stalemate, if that makes sense. And then you've got the solution, like clearly, do you know what I mean? The other thing I would say in your situation where you've got this big chunk of people who are coming into conversations, the way we started this when I said about long form content, the buyer's journey of people buying is getting longer and longer and longer. So on our paid ad tracking system, we have like a very advanced ad tracking, which is something called Hyros. I can see that the average buyer who comes from a paid ad is 31 days from a lead to signing up, which is quite long. Some of them are like 12 months. Some's like a day, which is very unusual. But generally people want to kind of fill things out a lot or see a lot from you, which is why if you've got like a big bunch of people coming kind of in the middle of your funnel, you want to try and pull them into like long form stuff where they can kind of binge, where it's going to build trust, create relatability, and there's going to be like stories and testimonials and stuff like that kind of thrown into it.
Because we don't do like, you know how you internet share and
Yeah.
So right now we kind of go quick into fitness and not too quick, but we obviously doing a framework where it's like goals, remote, agency, etc.
Like if you could make even 5 to 10 minute videos that you could send people, that you could almost do it in the video, it'd be like label the problem in the hook. Oh, have you tried this before to try and lose stubborn belly fat, blah, 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 and then like you teach them something to try and fix it on the video, but it's not like super specific. And the way you want to try and think in marketing is always like wow, not how. So you try and pull people through with like your unique mechanism. So in our fitness business, it would be like a metabolic priming diet, which is basically just carb cycling. Like you eat more carbs when you work out and you eat less when you don't work out, kind of thing. But it sounds sexy. And a lot of this is just trying to like make things sound sexy, because ultimately all we're doing, if you're working with people who are looking to lose weight, is essentially move a bit more, put them in a calorie deficit, and make sure that they kind of sleep and like live like a decent human being. Cool. Ben, if you're on the traffic side, what are you doing specifically right now?
Probably not enough, to be honest. I do, like, I've seen your, is it your 4 sequels?
Yeah.
I've done that. It has worked. I do have an email list and things like that. I suppose putting more time and effort into that and being consistent, but also, like, we were just talking there about, like, your nurturing side
Yeah.
of things. Like, that would be something that I need help on, like, how you do that.
Okay. So email, in my opinion, if anyone's making less than 10K a month, I wouldn't really even pay any attention to, because your time is better spent doing something else. And it's kind of why I have an argument with someone like, say, for example, like James Smith, who pushes email marketing. It's like, yeah, email can, like, when did anyone last in here buy something from an email? Like, I haven't bought anything. The second thing is, how do you get the emails? Running paid ads. So like, well, you might as well run paid ads just to get the client rather than get the fucking email. So, so I would say for you, it's like, okay, how can you get people top of funnel into basically your world who are going to be the right type of avatar? And that's going to be content driven in terms of, okay, what platform are you using now? Probably just Instagram.
Yeah, maybe,
Okay, so even Abdul spoke about this earlier briefly, but like, one of the things I try and look is where is there maybe a gap of attention with other social media platforms. Max, who's now gone, has mentioned about Snapchat. Is like, yes, you should definitely focus on Instagram because it's probably the easiest one to convert on. But there's also a lot of other platforms. Like LinkedIn is actually really easy to make, like photo, like caption, and like just post stuff on there. You can get stuff to get a lot of traffic. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, is getting about 100,000 impressions a week with me just kind of messing around and making photos, like without really trying. So you can kind of just use AI to write longer captions for that. But the traffic side for that, I would say for you, is like, how can you get, like, just focus on the content first and get people in, and then engage with people coming through.
that's another thing. So you've got your DM settings.
Yeah.
Do you kind of appoint them like who they should be messaging?
Okay.
Is it people who engage with your posts?
So the warmest people who engage with you are going to be the first people you want to kind of contact, right? So new followers, people who, like if you go on your Instagram stories, the top viewers, people who like and comment on posts. That's kind of really what you want to be kind of hammering over. Those would be the main things I would look at. I don't know if Ataz has anything else you'd say at the starting off. Yeah.
It's like, it's called a Phantom Buster. All it does is like export all your followers into an Excel sheet. So you get your VAs to split up now.
You can say emails as well, right?
Emails as well.
It's cool.
It's like,
It's like a Google Chrome extension.
So I literally explore all your followers. You can even explore likers, story viewers. So you can actually say, go and let's say you do a single story, you can get all the followers into a sheet, and then you can just message all of them as well. It's called Phantom Buster.
I think there's a Loom on, that video should be on school.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the group.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we've been using on LinkedIn, using ChatGPT to create images. If you haven't got many photos, you're working on it. I put one on the other day because the guy was able to create a bead. Because the bead was big.
Yeah.
Getting loads of comments, but it's great interaction.
But that's where, you know, I said about the like kind of cheap attention kind of thing. But what's ironic with LinkedIn is it's the attention is expensive attention because the people got money, but it's also quite easy just to try and get traffic and reach. So I would say that's definitely like a big platform that it takes not a lot of effort to kind of make the content for it.
Yeah, like I just put in ChatGPT, give me an image of someone overeating, or hungry, create an image, put it on there. Got loads of good interaction, got loads of
So while we're talking about LinkedIn, there's a couple of other hacks that I found for that will help as well. One is in your own post, put a comment at the top and make it a quote or something triggering to try and get other people to engage or like it or whatever. The other thing is try and find maybe 5 people who have got your ideal clients, who've got big followings, and go onto their post. You can even just take their caption, run it through ChatGPT and be like, give me a controversial comment I can put in the post here to get people to engage back with me, because that will then drive people back into your profile, which is kind of the game, right? And it costs nothing to do that.
Yeah, I've got a guy coming over this week actually. He does a lot of property investment.
Yeah.
He's a big follower and do a podcast with him this week.
That'd be really good.
Just try and do that. What would you do with that? Obviously, just post clips of it.
I would clip it, and then the problem I find with LinkedIn for video content personally, it doesn't really seem to push the reels or the videos as much as like images and stories. So I would do the same kind of style of how you would do a normal LinkedIn post, but then what I would do is don't put the URL for the longer video in the caption, put it in the comments, because if you put any, like the two things that crush reach and like basically mean no one watches any of your stuff on LinkedIn is if you put a URL in the caption, or also if you have a topless photo or something like that. Like I put what I thought was good for, like I was kind of testing to see if this theory was true. I put like a topless selfie of me on the beach or something on like LinkedIn, got like 50 impressions or something. I was like, okay, well that's obvious, it's like cutting a reach. Where I'll put me here standing now, I'll get like 10, 20,000. So
for transformations, we're doing basically a picture of me in the first slide, next slide, then
Yeah.
before picture, and the slide after that.
yeah,
And they're getting like, where normally on transformations you're getting like, instead of
nothing.
now we're getting like 2,000-3,000
Yeah.
on the transformation post.
So what I would do as well, have you got many of your clients on LinkedIn?
I've got many clients on them.
Like have they got LinkedIn? Yeah, so I would, or like if they're active, there what you want to do is like kind of like go onto their profiles and post, because like comment on their stuff, because then hopefully their audience will then come to your profile and they say, oh, like I recognize that guy, and then like making sure you're getting recommendations as well.
Yeah, we've got recommendations, everyone we've got. We've all got recommendations.
Those are the main things I would kind of really push, but the personal stuff on it seems to do really, really well. So like for you, for example, I'd really push like being a dad, all that type of stuff, like would do very well. Anything else specific on the traffic side? How often are you posting?
Pretty consistent now, 3 times a week.
Okay, so you like if you take nothing, just do it one a day minimum.
Really?
It has to be one a day minimum.
Post.
Okay, so if you would double your business straight away if you just did every day. So like I would just do every day. How often does everyone else in here post? Who posts more than twice? Yeah.
3 times a day.
Yeah.
3 times.
Twice a day?
What, like posts?
Yeah.
Usually one reel and one either testimonial or photo or collage or Twitter post.
I think on Instagram for a while I was doing 3 a day for like 3 years. So like but that's where it's just like, but it's systematizing it, right? So you could make, I don't know, you could make a load of content in like 2 hours and you've done 2 weeks in one go. So like the most important thing where most people struggle and then they get overwhelmed is because I've got all this stuff to do. It's like, yeah, like there's always going to be loads of stuff to do, and I have some really bad news for everyone in this room. Like the list will never end. Like you'll clear like the list and then like, oh, I got this idea, and then the list just gets bigger again. So it's trying to just like prioritizing and then just being really, really organized. So trying like batch tasks into certain times. Like, okay, cool, maybe twice a month you're going to try and make 12 to 14 pieces of content in like one go, like just record or do the filming. Or even if you're training here, you try and do something once a day when you're training. I'd personally probably try and steer away from doing like one a day for maybe something like Instagram for Reels, because it's a little bit, there's more kind of thought process in, and then rather than like LinkedIn where you kind of be like, oh, I feel like posting this today, or like you can kind of just make up a caption and just pull an image out, if that makes sense.
So LinkedIn, like, you can just split it out whatever.
Yeah, kind of, or like what's going on at the moment. So like, I don't know, today you could post about the Iran-US thing or something, for example, like things like. Yeah, shoot.
For doing, usually if you said 3 times a day, considering for the one social media, or you mean like one Instagram, one Twitter?
For me on Instagram, on LinkedIn I normally post 1, sometimes 2 a day. Whatever goes on Instagram goes on TikTok. So you just copy and paste on most of them. LinkedIn's a bit different. You can't really copy and paste from Instagram and LinkedIn. But
The only platform I think you can copy from LinkedIn to is Facebook. So Facebook likes static image and long copy. So you can kind of put that same thing on there, or you can put some stuff from maybe LinkedIn to Instagram as like a static image, depending on what it is, or a carousel. But generally I wouldn't. I'd say the biggest thing that kind of drives results for a lot of people is kind of like volume. So you mentioned earlier about like being nervous in terms of like talking camera, or like whatever it is, imposter syndrome. That after a while, if you just do something fucking loads, that's why you just don't care. This is like the first time if you trained a PT client in the gym, you're probably nervous, right? But then when you've done 100 PT sessions, like you're like, oh, no one, I haven't died, I'm still here. Like, so I would kind of just try and do volume to try and get over those things, because then you get much more comfortable with it.
So do you guys use, like, I don't know if this has changed now, but Buffer, for example, used to be a big thing where you post on all the platforms for you, or do you just generally do it individually?
So there's a lot of tools that can post for you. The problem is most of the platforms will cut your reach back if you're using automated tools for posting. Yeah, so I would just have someone post for you, and then we use like a Notion system where it'll be like Sunday at 1 p.m. on this Instagram account, you need to use this file and then this caption kind of thing.
Do you find that scheduling does reduce the views? Because I heard that, and I don't know if it's true or not.
Difficult to kind of, I think if you're using like Hootsuite and third-party automation tools, then yes, in my opinion, I think it does, because platforms like native things rather than things that are kind of manufactured and linked to other software, so I'd probably try not to do that.
So you're posting that most of the time today. What benefit is it usually? Because I wasn't sure. Like,
What's the benefit of posting multiple times a day?
yeah.
Okay, so, I'll reframe the question. Why are we posting content?
Engagement. But we also have ads.
Okay.
The ads is like a main source. So
Okay.
it's like we post more. I'm not sure if that leads to more.
Okay, so I'll go deeper. Like, so what with traffic, what traffic are you looking for? What are you tracking? So you're going to, okay, but you're going to get that from like reach, right? Of like people seeing your stuff. So if you post more, your reach will accumulatively will go up. So some people will have, the only platform I say this is slightly different with is maybe YouTube, and I'll explain why. If you look at something like Instagram, if you post 3 times a day versus 3 times a week on Instagram, I guarantee you, providing the content is similar quality, you will get way more traffic, accumulative. The only platform that is different than that, which we see a lot with YouTube, is if YouTube will push content into new audiences very heavily and make it called like what's called 1 of 10. But then if you post a new video, it'll stop pushing it. So it's kind of different with that platform. So I would think with Instagram, you need to kind of look at the cumulative reach, like over a week. Like, I personally think it depends how much content you can make, which is good. So like, don't just post shit for the kind of sake of it. And I probably, hand up, we've just kind of done a lot of volume previously before. We kind of pulled that back. So I think if you can do like 1 to 2 a day that are really good, that's great. But I say the minimum everyone has to do is 1 a day.
Be like a proof or authority rather than personality.
Kind of like that. So if like, way I would try and think about it is maximum from a sales perspective. You think about, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about like jab, jab, right hook. It's like value, value, then kind of ask, but probably even more than that now. So kind of like value, 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 like CTAs with guides, lead magnets, all that type of stuff. Because that's where you kind of want to lead with like reciprocity, but also even in some of the reels, like storytells, like how clients have got certain results, get them to come up on screen, all these type of things. Storytell about yourself. But where you really want to try and sell is on stories and then DMs. And then if you have got great client results, hammer the shit out, putting those on your page. So if you've got like before and after photos that are good, keep reusing them like every couple of months. Like, it's easy then, right? But you forget about the results you've gotten. So like your audience isn't going to remember. Do you know what I mean? So like, I don't remember what we've posted. Like, so like Steve, who works with Double H Smith's not going to remember. Like, do you know what I mean?
Last one.
Yeah.
Do you always go to sales role?
Do you want to make more money? Yeah. So, I said earlier, like people kind of push a certain narrative with things of like, you shouldn't have a team, you shouldn't do X, Y, Z. People will push a narrative because they're probably not very good at the thing. It depends what problem you want to solve. If you want to make as much money from the business as possible, you want to try and get someone on a call because you can then explain them the value of what they're buying because they probably don't understand, right? So, yeah, and then they can get a feel for you can get a feel for them, and it's kind of like making them feel comfortable with that. I personally feel that's one of the things that with AI and whatever happens in the next 5-10 years, people will still want to have that type of conversation because people want to be listened to, right, and heard. And that's, I think, probably the most important thing that people need to understand, that with fitness businesses, it's literally like booking sales calls and then closing sales calls. And if you think about the 3 things you essentially then need, is you just need to be able to get traffic into your world, convert that traffic into like a call essentially, and then thirdly is be able to like make that person become a customer. That's why I say it's kind of like it's. Yeah, yeah, for a fitness program, yeah, 100%. Unless you're selling an outrageously expensive fitness programs like 10 to 20,000 pounds or something, then like, but I would never really see any need to try and sell. The only instance I'd maybe say someone could sell 2 cool closes on fitness if you were doing something like from really cold ads on something like LinkedIn, and they're very skeptical. But I still personally think if someone's good, they can just try and sell them in one, and then if you try and sell in 2, like they might not turn up to the fucking second call, so you kind of cause more problems for yourself.
Where would you then, I know you said like once you get leads, you send them long form.
Yeah.
Where do you send that to?
I just send them in DMs, messages. Yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay, so like what would you say is the biggest problem you solve for people?
Probably just improving overall fitness.
Okay, so like we talk about offers, right? So like that's too generic of a problem to solve. So I would try and, why do they want to improve their overall fitness? So I try and go like a layer deeper with that. So maybe it's they want to have, okay, so they want to perform higher in fitness competitions. So I'd be like, okay, cool. So Charlie, here's a breakdown of the top 3 things I've done with clients to help them come first in their first 5 competitions. And like send them like a 5-minute video of maybe it's like recovery strategies or something that they can maybe like implement quickly. I would say with a lot of those videos, if you can give someone something that they can do straight away and they're like, fuck, like I can kind of feel some kind of difference from this. It's like if you've got a personal training client, you get them in the gym and you've got them, I don't know, for example, if no one's ever felt their lat like fire before and you get them to do like a lat pull down, like, oh fuck, look, I've never felt that before, this is amazing. Like that's kind of like the sensation what you want people to get from your content is like, whoa, I can actually kind of feel this. I wonder what like the rest of the stuff's like.
Do you think it's much better to do it in the form of long form content rather than like an ebook, for example?
I think there's that. I would do both. Yeah. So in particular, like with AI, it's so easy to kind of make these things. So like, what I would do is I would make the long form video. I would take the transcript, I'd put it into ChatGPT and be like, take this transcript and make me a lead magnet on top 5 recovery tools to become first in your fitness competition or something like that. And then like you've got both and you've done it in like 2 minutes. So like you can use, but what you could also do is then when you do the long form video, you could be like, if you also want the free guide that I have that I built to go with this, just message me on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Because what you can also do is like, you know, I spoke about the spiderweb marketing at our event. I'll send people from short form to long form. They'll watch the video and I'll mention something in the video and I'll send them back to short form. Because it's easier to try and convert people on Instagram in a DM conversation than trying to get someone from a YouTube video to book a call link. It's quite hard.
With your sales calls, you do those all free of charge, right?
Yeah.
So do you factor that into the pricing then moving forwards? So imagine in my industry, for example, you've hurt your shoulder.
Yeah.
And now I'm having a free call with you telling me why you've hurt your shoulder. Kind of got rid of the fact of my consultation, for example.
Well, with what you do slightly different. I'd probably make them like paid consultations. Yeah. So almost when I first started helping people help people with their business, I was like quite reluctant to give away my time. So I was like, anyone who wanted to book a call for me to help with the business, they had to pay like £250 as a deposit that like I'd give back to you, just so you can turn up and not waste my time. So that's with what you do. I'd just probably make them paid consults, and then on the consult you sell them the package. You know, like, even if you make the consult not that expensive, you could be like, okay, cool. So what you really need, Charlie, is you need a 3-month program to try and get your rotator cuff fixed. What we can do is we can map this out into 4-week phases, blah, 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 like kind of jazz it up and just show them the roadmap.
You wouldn't even need to tell them everything. It would just be like phase 1 would be
Yeah.
external rotation, phase 2.
Yeah.
What I was saying is quite interesting you said about like, so like going between the layers, it's like trying to tell them everything without telling them anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of how, for what we do, it's like, you know, we don't want to tell them exactly what's going on, do we?
But also, people don't really care. People just want the end result, right? Yeah. So it's like, I just want my shoulder not to hurt or my back not to like wake up and I'm crippled, or then like, I don't really care, dude. I just want to win the competition. Just like tell me what to do. Like, I can fuck how we get there. So I'd kind of try and think more like that. The biggest mistake a lot of people make with like marketing, sales, and everything is they're they're selling the flight, not the vacation. So you want to sell the end result and talk about that more than anything. Like, oh, Ross, how, like you mentioned, so how long have you had back pain for? Oh, six months. Like, I imagine that's like pretty frustrating. Like, how's that kind of been making you feel? It's like, oh, I feel like shit every day. I wake up. You kind of like, you know, I said like the labeling thing. They're labeling themselves and kind of winding the pain up. Anything else on that? Okay. Ross, offer creation. So we kind of like dabbled on that then. So for you,
Mine's a bit different, I think, than most people, because I have there's a couple of aspects where I've got a huge CRM system.
yeah,
Lots and lots of data. It's utilising data that already come to see us. So we've got 15,000 warm leads.
yeah.
How do we do that the right way the first time without messing up the first time? And then obviously reaching out to new people globally, which would be more the online people.
Okay, so this is what I know I touched on this before to you. So I would be very specific in terms of the problem you solve from the offer creation. So I'd be like, I would even send a survey of like, what's the biggest health or mobility or pain problem you have right now to your entire email list? I would guess it's probably lower back pain, like off the top of my head. So I would then be like, okay, cool. I've just come up with a program that then solves lower back pain and kind of put price on it. And then it could even be like give people customized mobility things they need to do for 4 weeks. Maybe they've got to check in every 2 weeks with the physio who can kind of give them some stuff. You give them a recovery protocol. Like imagine with a lot of people, if you also improve their sleep, their back pain would probably get a bit better. So I would try and package it something around one specific problem. You know, like I showed you before, there's a coach called Ben that I helped who was making like £60,000 a month just as like ACL knee things. It's like, that's super specific. And they're in big pain, right? But there's also going to be a lot of people, but there's going to be a lot of people who are in a lot of back pain who wake up every fucking day miserable. Like Nabil would be one, right? Like, so it's like, that would be the kind of person who's like, dude, I just want you to fix this. Like, what do I need to do every day? That's what I would really like nail down on that, and then just be very kind of clear on the messaging. And even like the content you make, so like even with some of the fitness YouTube content I've made, some of our highest, I think I'll show you, some of our highest videos were on like back mobility warm-up routines, like 100,000 views I made like 4 years ago. Like there's accumulate. So you could make a video a week on like a mobility thing that you put on YouTube, you can make some reels from it and just drive people into maybe like a free lead magnet or something like that. Like I don't know, here's a daily cheat sheet you need to remove lower back pain, something like that. It's like 4 or 5 mobility exercises they need to do when they wake up or something. I don't know. That's for you. I would say just like nail one offer, one niche, and try not to be everything to everyone, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there anything else specific on that, like pricing or?
Pricing is always going to be difficult, I think, because I'm based across 2 countries, which is like.
Okay, so I'll give you.
UK can't always afford what I can do in Dubai.
Okay.
I do also think a lot of my work, like some people here, a lot of my clients will be from the UK as well. I think so. I've got to make sure it's affordable.
Okay, so I'll give you some advice by asking someone else a question because I'm going to guess the answer. And I might be wrong. Do you sell the same price on LinkedIn or TikTok? Okay.
Sorry, more expensive where?
Sorry?
You said more expensive where?
On LinkedIn. Yeah.
So like the price is irrelevant to the size of the problem for the person you solve. So for example, Nabil, if he's baller, then it's worth a lot more for him to like wake up every day and not have fucking back pain and be able to think clearly and make loads of money. Or if it's like Karen who works at the supermarket, it's probably going to be less of a upward return from that kind of clarity, right? So that's where what I would do and then I'd get them into a consult call that's maybe like, I don't know, whatever it is, 50, 150 quid, whatever you want to charge for it. And then you have a pricing qualifier in terms of on there, like, okay, if we could put together a perfect program or like a treatment plan to fix your back pain, like what would you be willing to spend in kind of price brackets, kind of gauge at that, or even just remove that and just ask them like age and occupation. Because if someone lives in the UK and they're a managing director of a bank or something, like money is not going to be a problem. Like you can kind of read between the lines.
Do you guys package your stuff?
I've got different places for people to do it as well. Yeah, we've got clients here, but their pricing packages are different.
Okay.
Do you
try and focus on one package that you just focus, like for example, I got group programs and
Yeah.
personalized coaching. Like, do you think it's better to double down on one?
So
Depending on that.
it depends where most of your revenue is coming from, but my honest answer is I would try and focus on one thing. I think I quite like the group thing, and I transparently started my...
Downsell sometimes.
Yeah, so that kind of works. I think the group programs can be pushed maybe like every couple of months. I wouldn't continuously sell them. So for example, I started my fitness business with something called Shred in 8, which was like an 8-week transformation program. And we used to get like 800 to 1,000 people signing up for them. And then I had a guy who came through that. It was like 100, 150 pounds. I had a guy end up paying 9,000 pounds for a year's coaching program with me who bought that cheap thing. And then he was a client of mine for 3 years. I made like 30 grand from one guy instead of having like 3,000 people from this other thing. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just try and focus on these people because there's less of a ball ache. Like we had so many clients that the app we were using at the time called My PT Hub would crash. Like you had 1,000 people starting a challenge this day. The fucking system broke like when we'd launched the thing because there's so many people starting. Like it was fucking headaches. So you got loads of like angry people who paid like 100 quid who think you've like scammed them, which is terrible. So I think that's, I would do that, but I try and use the challenge to pull people into your world to like get like know, like and trust, and then kind of upsell them from that. And then I would try and focus on selling a higher price thing that's more one-to-one. And even if you do some in person, it's doing like a hybrid model of that. And I would generally, when like with any offers, I would try and do like a 6-month and a 12-month offer. In particular, if you're selling to people who are 30 plus, because the older people are, the longer the time frames they tend to think in. And they also realize that time goes very fast. How I like to try and structure pricing as a minimum, I'd say for most people, this pen is awful, is like 2K for 6 months, like pounds or dollars, 3K for a year as an example. And why you kind of structure it, say like £2,000 for 6 months, 3K for a year, is the goal is to try and extend, like increase lifetime value of a customer, right? So like how much someone pays you over a period of time. So if I say to you, it's £2,000 for 6 months or it's £3,000 for a year, the year looks really attractive. I'm like, well, do you want us to do this? Like, but it's 50% off for the second half of the year because by then we actually got you a lot of the results. It's more kind of keeping you accountable and like keeping the system going, just making fine tweaks so you can keep the results for the rest of your life. Because if you want a nice, interesting statistic, when people lose weight, 92% of people who lose weight regain it and more within the first 2 years. So you can even use statistics back on people, but they're basically getting a 50% discount in the second 6 months. So like a lot of people will just take the year because like, oh, that's a good deal. So that's kind of how I would position it. And then if you even break this down like a basic business model, you can sell 5 people a month at the 6 month, that's 10 grand a month. Whereas like the other model I had where I was selling 8-week challenges, I would get 1,000 people. So it's easy to get 1,000 people to do the 8-week thing, whereas to get 5 to sign up for 6 months, probably easier to do the 5. Because out of that 1,000, 5 of them would have probably bought that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Max pricing offer, we kind of went into that. Anything specifically with that?
Just like you said, 2K, 6 months.
Yeah.
2K, 12 months. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
I think I watched your podcast, not podcast, it was with that American YouTuber.
Oh, Tanner, yeah. Tanner's G, yeah.
And I just made me think about what you just said. So I'm going to start doing 12 months.
Yeah.
See how that goes. Right now my price is like £200 a month.
Yeah.
Last year was like £70 a month. So but yeah, just trying to get all the males in it. Like most of the guys who are up on the pool are like young, like me, 20 to 30. So since I've been posting every day, I'm starting to get 30-year-olds.
Okay.
Trying to make it go.
One thing, so take note from the posting every day thing that your business grew. So one thing I would say is that it's a really corny cliche saying, but it's like your vibe will attract your tribe. So like even if you are like 21 or young, like you don't look 21 to me in like a good way. If you portray yourself as someone who is 30, people who are 30 will buy from you, if that makes sense. So people want to buy from people who they kind of see themselves in, and your job and everyone's job in this room is trying to be like the attractive character for your audience, to the person you're trying to work with, right? So like, okay, cool, like he's done the thing I want to do, I want to be like that, blah, blah, blah. You want to like kind of inspire them. So that's kind of how I would really think. And if you're trying to age up your content to some degree, I would kind of think about what are the problems that those people have versus problems that maybe people who are 21 have, because they're kind of very different. Not saying that you're not going to make content for like dads or something stupid, but like you are actually.
Yeah.
Oh, so then do that.
Yeah.
Like that's a good word. I remember you saying it to me. That's a good. Like, have you done that?
I've done it a couple of times, but it's just, I should stop.
Yeah, dude, I would.
Office jobs and all that stuff.
Yeah, like but that's where everyone in this room has something that's unique about them that they can kind of leverage because someone else will have a similar thing, right? And that's what I would try and push, because if you push that, and even if you was like, it's kind of quite front of mind because she's bringing it behind the back there, that how can you get, like, you can push the angle of how, like, everything is positioning in angles, right? So okay, I'm a dad, how am I in great shape? And I have a son, blah, 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 son or daughter, however, daughter, like, what do I do every day to try and, like, do that and still do all the other stuff I do, run a business? Like, that's kind of thing you kind of want to push. Does that make sense? It's probably a different way to kind of think, but you'll naturally kind of pull more people in like that.
I have another question. It's off top.
It's right, anything.
I know you're big on supplements.
Yeah.
Same with me. I love biohacking. I was talking to Abby about this, like, to avoid burnout, I take L-tyrosine,
Yeah.
lion's mane,
Yeah.
and caffeine dose. But I don't know about modafinil. I was thinking about it.
Not a medical recommendation, but I would say, I don't know how to put this politically correctly. Probably like everyone I know who's really successful is doing those type of things.
They do modafinil.
Or like some form of something like that. So I personally, the way I would start, and this is not necessarily my recommendation, you should go and take these things, but the way I do it, so modafinil has like quite a long half-life. So it will stay in your system more than 24 hours. So I would try and take it on days where I know I have a lot of work. So I would do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is generally kind of how I would do it. So then Monday's in my system, Tuesday's still kind of in my system. By Wednesday morning, it's kind of out. Don't take a whole tablet. It's like way too much. The first time I did it, I thought I had insomnia because I'd taken too much. I'm never going to sleep again. So I would do probably like 50 milligrams and start like that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like probably more than enough. And then that's probably the strongest thing you can take that has the most effect. The other thing I'd say from a cognitive standpoint, I could talk about this all day long because I kind of obsess over it, is electrolytes. It sounds really basic, but most people, they can't focus because they're actually depleted in electrolytes, and that's where their brain starts to get scattered towards the end of the day. So I take a lot of electrolytes kind of all day long.
Where would you get modafinil?
In the UK or? I can send you some kind of details. Don't put that in the video. I'll point you in someone's direction. Modafinil. Yeah. Have you seen the film Limitless? Yeah. It's kind of like that film's kind of based around that.
Does it affect your sleep much?
It makes no difference to me. It doesn't make any difference to me, really, to be fair. But then, like, every single person is completely different. So, like, I could have a coffee at 8 p.m. and go to sleep. It doesn't make a difference to me. Like, I'll drink an energy drink and fall asleep. So it doesn't kind of really make a difference. I'm a bit of a weirdo with that. But then the only thing I notice is, like, if I use my Oura ring, my heart rate can be increased a little bit. So I haven't noticed it affect my sleep personally. I'd say probably other things from a nootropic standpoint that probably make it the biggest difference is even like electrolytes on waking. It's probably the biggest one. But I've shared loads of times. I don't know if it's in school, but like what I take. But I can share it again.
I think I've seen it already.
Yeah. That was kind of random. Anything else? Okay, I can nerd out about that one. I'm just going to call you Engineer Max because it's kind of, so mindset specifically. Is that more in terms of like what to focus on when you first start?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I would say the most important thing, and this is actually kind of reframe what I said. I'm not a big believer in terms of like mindset. I'd focus more on like behavior. So people talk about like doing mindset work, and I think, okay, I would try and think about trying to do behavior work. Like, what are the behaviors you need to do every single day to then, like, it is impossible you will not do well. So like, if you post content every single day, you'll get more leads and get more followers, and your business will grow faster than if you did 3 times a week. So that's a behavior thing, not a mindset thing. So I try and think about what's the key things that you need to do from behaviors every day that's going to make sure you're successful. So like, one is like continuously learn, ask questions, like constantly try and like be in rooms like this, and because that's going to massively help. Second is just being like super consistent. I'd say that's probably the strongest character trait I'd have is being very, very consistent, like for fucking years, just turn up every day. Like you can't be asked, but you still kind of do the thing. Like even if it's just like an hour or two a day, like or whatever, like do something every day. And then from the mindset you want to get is like proof of concept. As soon as you start to get a bit of momentum, like everyone in this room knows what it's like. You get momentum, you're in a bit of a buzz, and like you're excited to like build it and do the next thing the next day, whether it's a video getting some views or a positive message or a client signing up making money. Because if you think about, like we talk about psychology and we talk about like kind of hormones with even how modafinil works, it's dopamine and serotonin, because it actually can be used as an antidepressant, is if you get success and momentum with your business, it gives you dopamine. What do human beings chase, and men in particular? Dopamine. So then you become very driven because you start to get a bit of success. So it's like, what's the first thing you can try and focus on to get quick momentum? So for you, I'd focus like traffic, people coming in, messaging people relentlessly, coming through. I would say another hack would be like tagging gyms, people with social media followings, restaurants. If you go to them, like it literally, people just repost you onto their stories and it kind of pulls people into your world. Another hack on stories is actually as well is putting locations on stories. So like if you're, say for example, if I wanted to put a story up and get loads of trainers to watch it, I'd put TKMMA, Banús, or like something like that. So if you wanted to try and get, I don't know, maybe let's say for example you're a PT in London, I'd do like Equinox Central London or something like that, because people who are in that vicinity will start to see your stories and come into your world. So you have to always think like, our job is literally just kind of like pull people in constantly, if that makes sense.
In terms of like, obviously back to the pricing offer, as someone like myself just starting out, how would you say you can break through that
mindset shift of it?
That mindset of, say I get my first call and then I'm seeing something 3K for 12 months.
Yeah.
In my head, because I'm new to this,
Yeah.
I feel almost
Imposter syndrome.
It's not that I have any doubt about what I can provide them in terms of value, but as a first time saying someone, 3K for 12 months, in my head, I'd be like, oh, bad saying that's a lot of money. And when
So-
I've not done that for anyone before yet, you know what I mean?
Where do you live?
I live in the UAE now.
Okay, where specifically?
It's Al-Dhafra region near
Okay.
Saudi.
Okay, so you see money everywhere here, right?
Yeah.
So like then I would try and like break that belief about the money, and that's something you're going to have to kind of kill. I think one of the things that really reframed that for me was, I remember there was a Russian business coach woman who seemed a bit of a pain in the ass, who kind of wanted coaching from me, and I was like, I don't really want to do this. So I pitched her 100 grand. I was like, what point is this kind of like, can I be bothered? I was like, that sounds like good. You know, it'd be a cool story. And then that broke a big limit in me, belief for me to be like, oh yes, 100 grand. She didn't sign up. I was like, kind of glad, kind of not. But that's kind of like how I was trying to think. Because when you get used to saying those type of numbers, you just don't care. Because what will actually happen, it will make you so much easier for your business to be successful if you charge slightly higher ticket prices. And I don't know if Adrian, if you can give any advice to this, because I think when we first spoke, you kind of had a similar belief, maybe to some degree, from coming from Ireland, on the selling higher prices. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. Like you told me about even just the flexi pricing too. I think like what Charlie said, it's like you build momentum too, right? So first sale you get, it's like it's the best feeling ever. But then after every 5 you can just increase your price point. So even if 3 days you're comfortable, like you could just start out with, I don't know, 1,200 for 6 months and 2,400 or 2K for the year. And then after every 5 sales, just increase your price gradually, just build your confidence there too.
But what I do is I'd flip this. If you're starting and someone's just coming to you and like, you're like, oh, I've not really got a proven thing with this, dude, you've got more time you can give that client than any other fucking coach. So you could probably, you could probably charge them more, because you could like completely overwhelm them with anything you need. So I'd almost actually put it the other way round, that you could deliver a way better service than anyone else because you're just focusing on them, which is true, right?
You tend to find you get more headaches with people who won't pay.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, so you're better off actually being, if you lose them, you lose them. On to the next one. Same with my industry. Just
The hardest thing is just getting used to people saying no and not taking that personally. Like it's kind of like, that's probably the hardest thing from business, and that's why I think it's more, business is more of like a success from the heart than the mind. Like you have to be able to like continually soldier on, like get used to people saying no and just kind of shit going wrong because it's just kind of what's going to happen. But I think that's
On
like,
those calls, Charlie, that you get a client that because you know they're probably not going to be able to afford it. Would you recommend pitching the monthly price?
so it kind of depends. It depends on the circumstance in the business. So for example, if you're running a business that's very heavy on ads, then I would go into it with like a goal of like, we kind of really need to try and convert these people. And the way I would kind of frame this is like, it's like you're digging for gold. Like most people complain about social media and paid ads that the leads are terrible, but if you look at the statistics, 98% of the people in the world would be a terrible lead. So we're trying to find the 2% out of like 7-8 billion. So I would try and think about if you're running a lot of paid ads and anyone starts to go into that, you want to try and like kind of convert everything from the call, providing they're not a retard and cause fulfillment problems, so that it puts more money back into the system and even just break it up monthly.
What would you recommend as someone starting?
Yeah.
For pricing? I should have probably got this up.
I would still probably start with that, and then if they say no, like if you get them to the point, so like I think Ataza will probably give you the sales script framework. If they just kind of follow that as an overall framework, and then if they say no, but like, okay, cool, is it purely like, can you see the value in what I can do and how I can help you? And if it literally just comes down to the price, but like, okay, cool, I don't really normally do this, but I think you could do really, really well. Like, if I can be creative, is there any way this would kind of work for you? What if we did, instead of the 6 months, what if we did 1250, what if we did 1,000 for 3 months? Would that work? And then like, and this is a really good way to kind of frame it as well, is I can only do this for you if you can do like 2 things. One is you give me a video review, and 2, you try and refer a friend when you crush it. Because what that's going to do is subliminally, it's going to put in their head the positive affirmation they're going to get the end result, because you're already asking them for a review before they've even started. So it's kind of like give and take. And if needs be, you could go down to monthly. But I'd always try and go up front first, because you can always come down, you can't go back up. And I think everyone's probably been here on a call when they were like, yeah, it's fine. Like when you thought about trying to charge more. So that's something I would kind of think about. Like the biggest lever everyone needs to kind of like nail down is that the price and offer. If you have that and it's good and it's clear who you speak to, it converts well, and you can kind of articulate that message well, then that's very, very important.
I know we talked about like you might charge from a different back home than
Yeah.
here in Dubai, or maybe LinkedIn and
Yeah.
Instagram. Would you have different price points? Do you kind of
I would do different price points on those different platforms.
different price?
So like LinkedIn, I would go fucking super aggressive. Like, but I would price depending on the person who comes through to some degree.
Just doing research on them a little bit.
Yeah, so like the most important thing you need to do is like a recon mission. So if I take a sales call, I'm like I go through someone's Instagram profile, I'll click on all the links in their bios, I'll look at everything. I'll look them up online, like search on Google, YouTube, whatever. So like look them up on, like if you've got someone who's coming in, look at their Instagram profile, I'd look at, have they got any kids, where do they live, where do they go on holiday, what sports teams they like, what car do they like, go on their LinkedIn profile, where do they go to university, if they went to university, wherever they worked. Because you're also looking for things that are like common ground, but also to show that you've done due diligence. If Ross came on a call with me and I looked up that he went to Cardiff University or wherever, I think he might have gone there. Did you go there? Oh, there you go, that's a good guess. I did my research. So like if you did that, they're like, well, this guy's like paying attention. So automatically, like, they're like, okay, he's sharp. And in particular, guys who are, and women who are more successful really appreciate that, because it shows you've actually cared and you're kind of like looking into it before you've even begun, if that makes sense. And also I'd say on the sales aspect, because this is a huge thing, you can also then go into a sales call with a kind of a game plan of like, okay, these are the 2 to 3 kind of pain points, angles I'm going to push on someone. So like if say for example, you've got people coming in, dads coming through, there's a certain type of narrative you can try and push with that. If it's someone who's like CEO of a really big company, you can then really push a different narrative of like, okay, cool, how like, imagine you make more than 7 figures a year, how much more do you reckon you can make if we could increase your energy by 10%? And you had way more confidence. Like, that's worth more than fucking $2,000 to end then, right? So that's kind of how you balance that off.
Do you often ask on a sales call how much they're making?
I wouldn't ask that particularly to British people. Americans are more open with that sort of stuff. British people are quite reserved, but you can. So easy now if you go just find their job title and where they live and you put it into ChatGPT. How much is a? Does anyone know how much a? This is an interesting statistic when it comes to playing staff as well. Does anyone know how much a doctor coming out of university gets paid in the UK? It's like £16 an hour or something stupid. For like, I don't know how long they do university. So like you can find all this information online, but that's something that will also give you a lot of clarity. If you look up on, okay, you've got someone coming on who's an accountant from Boston in the US. Okay, what does the average accountant in Boston earn? Okay, it's $75,000 a year. Okay, cool. So you've got a rough gauge.
What's the thing we used to do so they know where they're coming from?
Questions?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so like you always just have calendar questions. I would put just like location, like what city, where do you live? Like that kind. So like, so like the biggest questions I'd have on every statistic we give you as well, Ross. The most important things you have to have: age, occupation, where are you from? Like what? Like if you know that, I can when they book the call, like have them ask those questions. Like everyone has to have that. You can have other stuff on top of that, but those are the easiest things to kind of like, and also probably like Instagram username maybe or LinkedIn, but I wouldn't maybe make those compulsory just if people want to kind of share them. Anything else kind of helpful? Okay. Abdul offer, is this specifically the two different ones from LinkedIn and TikTok?
Just more like when what we actually rather than just talk about product that's the actual offer, like
Yeah.
the brand sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just more something specific on that.
What do you think is, so you've kind of got two offers, the LinkedIn-y one and then, what's your pricing on the two different ones?
So on LinkedIn we charge you $1,500 for 600, 2,500 for 1,200.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, we've done a lot more sort of came off just for struggling with always on the 3-month offer.
Is there a lot of women on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah.
So like for that, the biggest thing if you sell to females is community. Like if you can get them in Facebook groups, school groups, do a group call week, get them engaged, throw fun stuff into the group every now and then.
Yeah, so we've got like a WhatsApp group for all
Yeah.
the clients, that's where they're at.
Yeah.
On Facebook, or just where
Facebook, it depends. It's trying to get engagement and get it going, and when other people, like human beings are like, we mirror everyone else, right? So if like loads of people are commenting and like sharing stuff, then you tend to start doing it. But no one wants to be the first. So it's trying to like encourage that type of behavior. So I'd probably say from like an offer standpoint, I'd be, what would you call your business and brand at the moment?
Absolutely.
Do you think that resonates with the women?
That's what we've got.
But I mean, like, could you make that more female specific, maybe? Like even like, I don't know, like the coloring you use and like the branding.
The offer, you know, like, unique offers are.
Yeah. So like,
How would you brand as well? Like,
so I'd almost have like kind of two variations of like kind of your brand. So it's not ideal because it's a bit more complicated but it's kind of what you have anyway. So I'd almost think, okay, what's the unique mechanism that you use with these women? So I'd be like, what's the biggest thing what type of woman client are they and what's the biggest problem you solve for them?
normally hormonal issues, like
Okay.
PCOS, menopause, perimenopause,
And how do you solve that?
got a menopause coach on it too.
Okay. You basically need like I can probably play around with like a sexy way to kind of frame that of like,
But the coach we do, like, it's getting them to understand that we need that resistance training, building muscle tissue, showing them that the coach that we used previously doesn't work.
I just remembered one that we used to use, this might work. This will work with women if they, the HOT method, hormone optimization training. There you go. Pull that one out of the bag. That'll bang.
Research started as well as MHC metabolism, hormones and energy.
Mm.
Three keywords 30 just for minimum of it. So we've got NM 30, which is like most of the time with macros, 30 for over 30. So it's like literally 3 words everyone says.
Well, this is kind of an example of like, if you use that sounds way better than what you kind of tried to explain to me. It's a hormone optimization, it's a hot method, hormone optimization training. Like, that's kind of like, oh, this sounds sick. Because kind of our job is to sell people the thing they need and they probably kind of know a bit of, but like kind of package it in a sexy, attractive way that gets them to actually kind of do the thing. So I would probably put some thought into, I would just use that for me. I think for your audience kind of bangs. I think it's good. Like you can put loads of different plays off of that.
Yeah, I could do a similar thing for like LinkedIn.
Yeah, dude, you could have exactly the same. It would work for men as well.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. For I'm trying to think more for men, but same thing would work. Yeah, worth coming. Okay, so Adrian, ads, audiences. Okay, yeah. Charlie, would you be able to grab me a water? Have you got any?
So at the moment I do 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
And then one of my other questions was how do you increase the LTV of a client? Then I was just thinking, is it worth testing just having like, I know, what's his name, John guy in the US?
John Madsen.
Yeah, I think it just has like 12-month program.
So I can send. I haven't sent you this, have I?
No.
Don't put this in the video. If we post this, I took a sales call with his team and to see kind of what they do and what they pitch. I can send you the Loom recording of it. So their offer is, so this is where like I spend a lot of time seeing what's happening, so I know exactly what's working, what's not. They have a 10K offer and a 30K offer. The $10K offer is probably the same as everyone's program in here. The 30K offer, I have a contact for the doctor from a guy called Eric Spofford that they basically just get like blood work and some other stuff done. It's kind of no different.
Yeah.
So
Is that a full year-long program?
it's 12 months.
Yeah. So
And those are the only two options they have.
Yeah, like I just think I'm just going 12 months only and having whatever you want to call it, gold and the silver. But then it's like, so I reverse engineer, how do I package my gold?
Thank you.
Because I don't
No, so thank you.
don't do blood work, but I'd like to get into that. But then one of my mates, Davey, does that. It's like his costs for blood work and all, it's like, we were doing the math there yesterday, it's like $1,500 or something for
Yes, you just got
doctors' consults and all that.
you just got to price it into it. So like, what do you charge at the moment?
24 and 36.
Or it's got to be like 3 times that. So I would be, if I was going to do stuff like blood work have to be 5 to 7.5K.
So if we were to take blood work out of it and we were to scope 12 months, how would, even Frank said the last day, I think very much out of a VIP offer.
Yeah, I'd have a super high level one. So like it'd be like maybe they come to Dubai and they can train with you 4 times a year. Like what else can you add into it to like people pay for access? So that's kind of like one of the things. What would you say is your?
What I was thinking of is like to work with us, it's this. To work with me, it's this.
Yeah, that's literally what you want to. Do you want to coach less clients?
I want to coach.
Okay, so then you basically what you do is you price yourself out of it. So like, okay, cool. So and what you'll get is that some people will be like, oh yeah, I'll just pay for the $5,000, I'll just work with you. So like maybe you make it, I'd probably double what it is to work with you. Try that for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then if everyone keeps buying it, then increase the price. And then it's kind of a good problem because you make twice as much money. But also those type of clients who then buy the more expensive coaching programs tend to be the easiest clients to deal with because they don't really give you any headaches. They're not asking like stupid kind of questions.
Just on the offer then, for LinkedIn, someone who knows feck all about it, do you recommend 1 or 2 profiles?
I'd kind of read it, the person.
Back and forward.
That's too short a conversation, I think.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think for higher price points. What I would.
Send them on a BSL to watch, and I got 2 over the line this one, which was good. But
What's your closing rate on LinkedIn at the moment, though?
looking like 4 out of 4 in the last 2 months, which is good.
Then why would you change that?
So it was, one was a 1 call and one was a 2 call.
Okay. kind of really depends on the person, like you as the person taking the calls. So like, if I was going to sell to a woman, I would be much more likely to do 2 calls than to 1 call, and I'd be a lot less aggressive, because again, I've talked a lot about like psychology, but women want security, men want status. So you can bait a guy in quite heavily, whereas you can't do, and like kind of not push them around, kind of the wrong thing, but like kind of be a little bit direct with them. But with a woman, you really need to try and like reduce skepticism, make them feel really comfortable, certainty, like all that type of stuff. So like the 2 call close, if you get women come through, I would do that. For men, I think it kind of depends on like your kind of gut feel on the call. But if they're not convinced, if you're not like, I'd probably try and push it to 2. And the way I'd frame it is that you're going to do like a quick consult, and then you're going to put together an offer that's specific for them in terms of like, here's a roadmap in terms of what we need to do in the second call, if that makes sense. And then send them something between the 2 calls to try and keep them engaged. But the problem with LinkedIn, if you do 2 call close a lot of time, is, but also like they're busy, so they can't do the call and they're cancelling it, and like if they're in the US and then you're here, it's a bit more difficult with the time zones. I would personally, and it depends how much time you have. So if you can close them in 1, I would go for that if it's working, because you'll also think you have less risk of losing them, if that makes sense.
Okay. If you do get a live that maybe it's a 2 call thing.
Yeah.
When's best to pitch price?
Don't ever give the price on the first call, because otherwise, why are they turning up to the second call? Like, you kind of want to keep them guessing for coming to the second thing of like, so you want to hype them up in terms of like, okay, cool. So Ross, what we're going to do on, I can't good gauge where we are right now. What I want to do is just kind of go away and have a little think, and then put together like a roadmap of what I think we should really do with in terms of getting you in shape in the next 12 months. Are you free on Friday at 3 p.m? We can just jump on and I can just walk you through what it looks like. Like, that's kind of how I would do it. Like, but you control that. Like, when you feel, I probably don't need to push this guy, if that makes sense, or it's not like there. If you want to work with like, and I only work with a handful of people. And if you want to work with our team, it's 3-6 for 12, and it's 2-4 for 6. I would probably frame it like that. And if that someone's selling too easily, then I'd increase the price again. It's a good problem, right? But like, because that's kind of what you want to get to.
Just on ads then, so at the moment we're doing boost posts for follower, and then we've tested out Meta Business Suite and DM keywords. So a few ones, first of all, on your experience, do you think that the call to action is better book a call or download a free guide?
On an ad or a reel?
For both really.
Is this boosted?
Boosted though, so.
I probably wouldn't do a boosted reel. What's the start of the hook of the reel at the moment?
Just if you're man boot or whatever.
Yeah, I'd probably try some of both. So like, I'd probably test.
Free guide generally converts better.
Yeah, I'd probably go more with a guide. What I'd be more inclined to do, if you wanted to do ads direct to a call, is skip the DM bullshit. And I would create an ad direct to a landing page with a VSL, like video, and try and get them to book a call there. And I would do that on just probably retargeting ads. So like the way I kind of see ads work very well is essentially like we want to pull people into our world with like kind of like cold traffic. So like your cold traffic would be the kind of boosted reels, the lead magnets, anything that's kind of going out that's going to be just pushing reels into kind of new people. And then essentially like the people who are coming in from those kind of cold like ads to lead magnets, you just like picking them off with kind of like retarget like constantly. So like that's going to be very heavy like social proof direct to a call, or to could be you like filming selfie style, but like, oh, you've seen our results over and over again, yet you still haven't reached out to get in shape, blah blah blah, like try and get them to a call. And the beauty of these ads, the retarget ones, you don't have to spend a lot. Like very bit. You probably want to spend on retargeting max 10% of your ad budget. So if you're spending, I don't know, €3,000 a month, maybe something like that. Like you want to do 300 a month, maybe. It's like 10 a day.
And then for audience
So it depends. I know it really doesn't help you, but like a lot of the things with ads is looking at the data in front of you and like what's kind of happening. So if I was going to give it generic advice, I would start very broad on ads, so no targeting. And to say something sick, I'll just start testing as well. And this also comes into when I said start off with like AI and ads and like where it's going to work. So you want to start very cold and very open. So it'd be like, I don't know, maybe it's UK 30 to 50-year-old men. And then you want to use the ad creative to find your audience, because Facebook uses AI to read your ads. If you're like, are you an executive man who's over 30? Who's it going to try and push it to? Executive men who are over 30. So the ads kind of really want to be very specific in terms of the word to use. Yeah. So I would even do like hook, call out, or like call out in the hook, if that makes sense. And then if that's not performing well, I would then go, like as in like the quality of lead is poor, I would then go to interest targeting. The second thing I would do now, which I don't think you can do at boosting a business sweep, if you're going to run normal ads and ads manager, I would run them. I'm testing a lot of this right this week. It's fucking sick. For cheap leads is doing Advantage Plus campaigns, like broad as hell. So literally, I just put it on like top 5 countries I have clients from, 20 to 45.
5 different campaigns, or
I would have all in one, and just let it rip. So like from us, it would be US, Canada, UK, Ireland, maybe Australia. And then Facebook will then optimize across those. So that's something that why I think ads is getting a lot easier, because on Facebook specifically, not on the other ones, on Facebook, because the AI is getting same for Instagram, the AI is so much better now in terms of like trying to hit the right person. You're eventually like, you don't really need interest targeting so much.
those ads have a specific call out, like if you were
Yeah. You want to be very specific, because otherwise it doesn't know. It's like specific in the video, but specific in the copy as well.
And does it make a difference if you boost goals versus Meta Business Suite platform?
So from what I can see, I personally believe that if you boost in Google Chrome, it will get higher, it seems to work better. Sorry, the only thing I wouldn't do is run ads boosted on Instagram, because you will get charged extra for it. So we run ours, if we're boosting stuff mainly through Business Suite rather than doing even in Ads Manager. I don't really like the Ads Manager one. We run the proper ads in Ads Manager, if that makes sense.
Do you boost posts to like Ireland, UK, US all in one, or do you just do one post per?
So we'll do different buckets. So like we'll have some that are like super broad. Actually, you know I said earlier about having these massive campaigns. Our highest performing campaign, actually had a lady from Singapore who's done it the other day. That's really off topic, but we run very broad campaigns now. Some of them have like 25 countries in them. Like even places like, we'll probably take this one out now, is Israel would be one of them in there, but I probably should take that out for the time being. And it will basically, Facebook will push the budget to all of these countries. So like from like Scandinavia to the US to like Tulum in Mexico, we target like very like specific areas.
Just for the boost posts, and is that
No, that's on like normal ads, but you could do, actually we do the same thing on some boosts as well. We have some that are very broad.
for like profile visits?
Profile visits, just like top of funnel. Because why I want the top of funnel is like this, for the retargeting, because we're just like fueling this cold audience that we can then pull people into our world. And that's when we pull people into the retargeting ads are also pulling people into the long form content, and you're kind of just building that like warm audience all the time.
What would your test budget be for current posts?
Per campaign, it kind of depends person to person, but I'd start ours at like 50 to 100 a day, but I'd suggest a minimum of 20.
When do you shut it down? It's like, so if you spend 100 a day, 700 a week, you get no leads off it, do you say, fuck it, all I need is one, and I get way more?
Yeah, so certainly I started doing like weekly email newsletters. They're slightly different styles. Like one of the things actually coming out today talking about that is like you're only one sale away. So if you're selling say your program's now 5K and you're spending 100 a day, it's like, well, okay, well, you don't need that many sales to make that really profitable. So, which is why coming down to pricing being strong makes it a lot easier to have a scalable business. So I would say for you, I'd look at, I don't necessarily I want to see proof of concept. So like, I said earlier, we have this massive campaign we set up last week. That, for us, the second day we got a sale. Someone came in, booked a call and bought it straight away, which is very unusual. There's a guy I messaged you about. And then, and I looked at the math at the start. It's like we can get, for £500, we get 2,000 leads. If I convert 1% of those, that's 20 calls. If we get 20 calls booked and then say half sharp, 10, if half of those, say 3 of them close, we're probably at 8 to 10x ROAS at that point. So I kind of like will break it down.
Is that for your 4C course?
Yeah. So that's kind of the way I'd look at the metrics. So for you, I'd be like, okay, how much does it cost me per follower? What are the quality of the followers? And
175 to €2.
so I don't think that's bad. And I'd be like, what's the, how many calls am I booking? Like, what are these people engaging? What do they kind of see like? And this is also why I start this with like, these are things you need to learn to like some level, is you can't outsource ads, in my opinion, very well, because you can't tell media by like, it's difficult to try and have that conversation or intuition, because a lot of it's looking at the data of like, that's kind of like the right cost per lead and what we want. And then the calls we've had this week have been pretty good. It's not closed yet. Do you know what I mean?
Have you ever done retargeting ads where like you do different ad sets?
Yeah.
So you do different demographics, people of different interests, see what performs best, and then you're more likely to do that.
So I wouldn't do that on retargeting ads. You don't need to use interests. I would do, so the retargeting ads you want to do are going to be, probably the best one's going to be Instagram profile visitors, engagers, and like Facebook or website visitors. For you right now, I wouldn't. I would literally, if you want to survive, the only thing you should do, post it one reel a day. Do like, just literally focus on like organic traffic in, and I wouldn't worry about the retargeting ads yet. And I think probably when you've got one reel a day, then I would probably start then boosting. I look for like one reel a week you can boost and see what like the cost per follower coming in is, because essentially it's kind of easier in some respects to then pay for traffic now and then just direct it where you want it to go, because the organic reach on Instagram is kind of like throttled because of the amount of content that's produced.
Do you know the retarget to the VSL?
Yeah.
Would the apply now one be kind of like a type one? To be the type one where it's the first question is confirmed to watch the landing video section of
I would send them directly to Calendly. I would, because I think there's more friction if you put them into Typeform.
And then would you have that for one of the questions be like, please confirm to watch the video? So which is good for stuff.
I personally wouldn't be too bothered about that. I just price qualify them, because you kind of know we disqualify quite a lot of calls that come from our VSLs, but so you can always just like, you can kind of disqualify a lot of them. You can actually set up AI to disqualify the calls and go high level now as well. I've kind of been reluctant to do it in case it makes mistakes, but you can do that.
I remember Frank said something like, it's a pretty show where you get a, it's hilarious. Like,
Attract a blonde woman. Yeah.
Get money for it. But almost like something like that, but I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Into Newcastle.
You want to try and, like, whenever you're automating any flow of like an ad or traffic to like booking a call, you want to make it as seamless as possible, remove friction. Like if you want to get more calls, like it's kind of like a thermostat, right? So like if I want more calls, I reduce friction in the funnel. So like less questions, less price qualifying. If there's loads of calls coming in and they're all like terrible, then that's when I'm going to start asking like, this is a paid program, blah, 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 blah. Like, are you willing to invest in your health? Yes or no? Like that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Was there anything else specifically on ads?
No, I think that's good, Jeremy.
Okay. On the VSL thing, there's a really in-depth training I spent 4 hours making on Tuesday. That'll be out probably tomorrow. But that also shows you how to. Yeah, Crush. I would use it first on retargeting, because running them cold is pretty difficult, and then you can't lose money on retargeting. But it shows you how to script the whole thing with AI and everything. It's wildly good. Cool.
One question.
Shoot.
Yeah, just because everyone have a different questions depending on their stage in business.
Yeah, correct.
So if I'm starting now and I'm already starting to post every 1 reel per day, and now your coach then he says me to start sending the messages
Yeah.
and outreach. But is there somewhere video maybe there is a file to see the whole roadmap? You know, for example, if I have a client, I know the roadmap of him,
Yeah.
like from our first meeting, what I'm going to tell him, what I'm expecting him to do, but I don't see the whole roadmap for myself.
Yeah.
What's you know what exactly.
Chris Ashford has one like that. The only thing I would kind of say is a little bit different with business compared to fitness is like we can't really give a generic roadmap because everyone is kind of slightly different in terms of your strengths or weaknesses. But we can kind of map you out a flow of what that would look like. That's no issue.
So I should just carry on with the coaches?
Literally, because it's all I'd focus on is getting good quality content to then message the people to get them onto calls, get social proof, push social proof out, and then just kind of like rinse and repeat that. And then the big thing with like business is just numbers. If you then have like the data of like this is how many calls, how many messages we're sending, how many calls we're booking, it's kind of like how many views we're getting. We then like that's the number that's broken. We need to fix on this area. Rather than if we give you like a generic, this is what we're going to do with this order. You just kind of want to fix the thing that's broken rather than like. This is kind of why I don't like business plans because. Like Mike Tyson saying, like everyone has a plan to get punched in the face, and business is going to kind of punch you in the face. Like you do the thing, and then like Instagram changed the algorithm, it doesn't work, or a set of leads, or like, you kind of have to deal with the problem you have, rather than like, well, in week 7 we said we were going to do this. It's like you kind of have to pivot, if that makes sense.
It's just so many different instruments and
different
things going right now. So
yeah, that's why it's like success comes down to focusing on the biggest problem you have right now, which is why also said like not having like people want to have like a 6 to 12 month plan. Even like I try and do like plans quarterly, but like and then we're like 4 weeks in and like the whole thing is kind of out the window a lot of the time because it's like, well, this is working or this isn't working, and you just want to be very quick because the businesses we have move very fast, in particular with kind of like the way the world is going now.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Joanna, momentum, low hanging fruit. So I just give some great advice. The first thing I would do as well when you're starting out is I would do giveaways on social media once a month to do free coaching. Now this may sound stupid, why would you do this? I'll explain why. So the reason I would do giveaways to do free coaching is, one, you can get loads of engagement into your profile, to people to raise their hand that they want to get in shape or do the thing you do. Number 2 is you can then get client results that you can then showcase. And number 3, if Adrian comes into my fitness program, he does it for 4 weeks and gets really good results, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to start charging you, he's probably going to pay me. So I would just pick people who I know look affluent on their Instagram profiles to win, or I know that they can then, they look like, say if there's a guy, I can tell they're kind of like muscular but they're a bit fat. If they drop like 2-3 kilos, it'd look really good really fast. But like, he's good, well, I'll take him. So kind of be quite selective with that. That's a really easy way to try and get people in and get proof of concept, because once you've got proof of concept and also social proof, it's much easier to try and pull people in.
Would you promote that organically?
Organically, I just put it on your stories, and even like some of the best things you must know some people, like guys who are like dude, like Charlie, I really need your help. Would you be interested if I coach you for 8 weeks? I'll get you absolutely fucking peeled for summer, but I can just use a before and after photo, and then you give me a video review. Like some of the best results I got. One of the best results I got when I first started was with I think it's my mum's godson, who's like a family friend. I got him in great shape, and he competed and did a load of other stuff. Loads of clients on the back end of that, and that's like one thing I think about is you can get one client can end up bringing in like 10 to 15 if you do a really good job with them, because it's the social proof, but also the referrals. Like it's wild. Anything else specifically in terms like that would be one big thing I turned to push on. I don't know if there's anything else you would say. I'd milk that. And literally what I said. So I would try and like at the end of every group class, I'd ask everyone to tag me on Instagram and get them to follow you, because you're just pulling loads of people into your world. Because if you could end up with loads of people just coming into your funnel every week. You could almost be worth you paying them to do the class. Like it'd be insane, I think.
It costs a lot.
Me and Mark used to do like last night together. It was like I think COVID happened and they had like 330 people and like 3 days sign up for my 8-week program, and that was off cards, literally off cards. To be fair, that was like 125 or 8 weeks. But still, that's like a lot of traffic every day. So,
Because also, like, you know, so if you also get some of those clients who do a good job, it's quite sensitive to that type of things where like community, where like if you get one client for Barry's and they get in really good shape, then all the others want to suddenly start signing up. Yeah, it was like people buy from people they know. So it's even like the group call I said on Tuesday, like when I was in Vegas, I was like, okay, there's no way this isn't going to work. I started running ads to Vegas to gyms when I was there, and then literally like, one of the guys was on the call was like, oh, here's a good example. Like Renato, didn't you come up to me in the gym because you saw my Facebook ad? And then he's on the fucking Zoom call. So I'm like you can kind of create your own luck with these things sometimes by kind of like forward thinking. So people, no matter how much talk about AI and content, like people still want to see people in person because you get like that know, like, and trust and a kind of real feel for them.
This might be slightly off topic, but is there a rough statistic or gauge that is considered good in terms of the amount of people you close from a sales call? So say there are 100 calls.
Okay, so the general, like, some like random KPIs if this pen's not dead. So I'm just going to write this at the top. So like here's like a big thing of, you know, like I said earlier, like what problem are you trying to solve, right? One of the big things is going to be, like what I would try and look at is this, so like closing rate, generally think anything above like 50% plus like is good. If you're above like 70%, charge more. The call sharp rate, again, I kind of look for 50. You expect to kind of lose half each stage. If you're running a lot of cold ads, this is going to be kind of lower. So ours is sometimes like 40-ish, which is kind of problematic, which is then where these businesses can get a little bit complicated. Those would be kind of like the two big metrics I'd look from a sales perspective. But there's also like sales trackers on Skool which show you, will automate kind of like tracking all these numbers for you. So those are the two big ones I kind of look at on like a front end sales perspective. Any more questions on that? Okay. Any other like KPIs or random metrics people want to know? I can no doubt go through a lot of random stuff. I don't want to go over anyone's head. Shoot.
What's that Vorax?
Okay.
My followers per day, I think it's 50 pence.
Yeah, that's really cheap.
Is that?
Okay, so this is a good one. Okay, so that's a good shout. So just put cost per follower. So generally cost per follower, anything like £1 or less is good. And then to like scale paid ads, ideally you want at least a 3-to-1, as in you put £1 in, you get £3 back. Like I obviously kind of like the more the better. But if I was to tell you a more complicated version of that is something called LTV to what's called your CAC ratio. So LTV stands for your lifetime value of a customer. CAC stands for your cost to acquire a customer. Your CAC is essentially all of your marketing costs like bundled up and then divided by how many clients you sign up. So let's say, for example, I spent £10,000 this month on videographers, paid ads, setters, closers. That's probably it. And then I signed up 10 clients. My cost to acquire a customer would be 1,000. And then let's say my average client pays me 3K over their lifetime. My CAC to LTV ratio is 3-to-1. That's like scalable and is okay. The goal is if you can get above like 5-to-1, you can like print money. And this is kind of a game in terms of you tend to track a little bit further down the line depending on the size of your business, more specific for advertising.
What would you say is a good LTV link for a client journey?
I think everyone kind of has a lifespan to some degree. So even if I look at like what we do, our lifespan of clients is a lot longer than an industry average, like way longer. But I say for like fitness, if you can get someone past 10 months on average, it's very good. Very good. So what I would you want to try and be getting past is at least like 6 to 7 months. And ideally, like the last thing I'd probably say on here that's really important is your churn rate. So like your churn is like how many clients are leaving every month as a percentage of how many clients you have. So like that, if you can get to like 5%, is really, really good. If it's above 10%, that's too high. And that's why if you look at like bigger businesses, they will basically obsess over what's called revenue retention. How much money have they made from clients this year that they're going to keep making that money from the next year, if that makes sense. But this is also where, say for example, for everyone here, it's making sure that with your hot method, that you have something you can try and sell them in the second year of it, so you can kind of keep extending the life cycle. Does that make sense? So even with our fitness business, we'll give clients a 12-month training program that's mapped out in monthly phases. It's called Hypertrophy Max. Then we have like a second year's version of it. I can't remember when that one is. And then we'll just kind of phase it out like that.
The second year version of it's like a different name.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name is for that one, but like we have another like sexy name that sounds cool that then like, do you know what I mean? So it could be, yeah, you want to have something.
That was like sort of fat loss build with it.
Yeah, and then the second one would be like performance based and maybe like longevity or something, I don't know. Like specific to the pain points problems. Anything else anyone wants to ask? No?
I didn't know that for CAC you factor in the for sellers.
Anything to do with front-end marketing, sales. So that's an interesting thing I actually found quite good to kind of look at. So like the cost to acquire a customer for most people in a fitness business is generally about like between 200 to 350 probably. But obviously if you're trying to target wealthier people, it's going to be higher generally. But then you charge higher price programs, which is why you actually just need to look at kind of the ratio. Anything else? Cool. I hope it's helpful. If you guys took a lot of value from this, just take photos, share them with a friend. We'll have loads of photos from Sheroy as well. I think we can share in the school groups and stuff afterwards. And then we'll try and do these quite frequently because it's pretty easy to do and just can give you guys fast knowledge. You guys can meet each other. I think there's a lot of value in that. So thank you everyone.